Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yeah, or don't. I mean, that's, again, that's the incorrect email. It's just become a part of the show. What the hell? We should redirect you to a KFC in Poughkeepsie. Hi, how you doing? It's November 16th, and it's a Tuesday, and so my sister Susan is going to join us. Hello?
Hello, this is strange.
Yes, it is. We're not in our normal places. I'm in Green Bay. Susan's in Chicago, right?
Right.
And, but here we are. It all ends up essentially the same. Oh, man. So, feeling discombobulated today. I hope it doesn't become apparent. Susan.
Yes.
Oh, God, why did you wait so long? I mean, what am I supposed to think?
I was waiting for you to. I thought you were saying, "Well, Susan, comma," and then you were going to go on. When you didn't go on, I eventually realized that you must think that maybe I'm not here. So I said, "Yes, okay, go ahead."
No, one. For those of you who don't know what that's about, Susan has a tendency to say, "Okay, go ahead," and I don't
in the sense of over and out.
Yeah, well, okay. That's one. Very early on. I think she'll not do it again. I'm not sure. So I'm sitting here in our parents' old bedroom on a little love seat, and Blue is curled up next to me eating a bone, just so you can place me. I had breakfast with my brother and mother earlier, and my brother informed me that he never looks at a newspaper anymore, does not have it. He says, I cannot. He says, every day is more horrific than the next. It's sort of true, isn't it?
Well, it is sort of true.
Yeah.
Because every day that doesn't get better, it is effectively worse.
What?
Well, every day that we continue to, as a world, sort of pussyfoot around and not do anything actually constructive, the damage that we aren't correcting is getting worse.
Okay. Well, my sense is that a lot of people on our side are tuning out. And,
they're exhausted with the outrage. It's not the way we normally function.
Yeah, but the other side is ratcheting up their outrage on a daily basis.
I know. It's no time to get tired, folks. I got it. But it is exhausting. It's just exhausting.
Yeah, it is. So, I'm sitting here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I saw that I wasn't even reading the local paper. I saw in the Washington Post.
You going to buy some more stock?
Yeah, that says if you want to be an owner of a football team, today's the day to do it. The Green Bay Packers are selling more shares of ownership in the team. The only publicly owned franchise in the National Football League, and this is only the sixth time in history that they've proffered. So if you want, I'm just saying, if you want to join Susan and me as owners of a football team, you can do that for $300. That's what a share costs.
Right, and we can do that because our Uncle Gene, our father's brother, bought $5,000 worth of stock to keep the Packers afloat in 1950. And that was the big one. That's where there was really a campaign going on about town, and people were going door to door trying to sell shares.
To save the team.
To save the team. So, interestingly, I don't think our parents bought a penny. It was all Uncle Gene. And years later, that through various shenanigans in the Packers front office became, I think, $1 million. The $5,000 worth of stock became $1 million worth of stock. And when Uncle Louis, I guess it was Uncle Louis that had it all. When Uncle Louis died, we each got 200,000 shares.
I've lost my certificate.
Mine's framed someplace, but not sure where.
Lost it. And here's the thing, guys.
It's worth nothing.
It's worth absolutely nothing. If I have 200,000 or $1 million or whatever, or you buy it is not. You can't turn it in or cash it in. It's nothing. And
should you make so much as a penny in profit, it is by law, it has to go to the Odd Fellows home for the aged in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
I actually think that's been changed.
That's how it used to be, right?
The corporate types have finally said, this is nuts. We've got to bring this into the 20th century here. But anyway, so if you want to, they're selling stock today, $300.
And it does let you go to the shareholders meeting, and you do get to vote for the board of directors. That sort of stuff. Right. Not that I ever have. Have you?
No, but I have sent in my proxy votes.
You have?
I have.
Okay.
I take my shareholder thing. It's not everybody who owns a football team. I got to pay some attention to it. Not most shareholders don't show up. The stockholders meetings are held at the stadium, rain or shine. And, generally I think about 5,000 or 6,000 people show up, but it's absurd. Anyway, so that's what you can do today.
I had just seen that when I realized, it's 8:58.
Oh, okay. So I guess they handed when the last time the Packers won the Super Bowl, and I hate to say, was that the time they beat the Steelers? Yeah, maybe so. When they went to the White House, the president was Barack Obama, and they awarded the president one stock certificate. And, he's a Chicago Bears fan, so and what he said is, Obama said, if I'm part owner, I'm thinking we should initiate a trade and send Rodgers down to the Bears.
I'm thinking I'm on his side.
Yeah.
Take him. He's yours.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You can have him.
I just, when I'm done with someone, I'm done with them, and I'm done with Rodgers.
Well, I'd like to keep him for games, and then otherwise he can go away. He's still a damn good quarterback. Anyway, so that's the football news. I don't know. God, I'm avoiding because Bill's right. Everything is just so fraught.
It is. There's nowhere to look. There's a war on women, the likes of which we haven't seen. They're going to. What is your take? My take is that Kyle Rittenhouse has got a very good chance of getting acquitted here. And what's good to report?
I have something good to report. I do. Let me think. Oh yeah, this is football again. Sorry, but it's the only story I read in the last 24 hours that made me smile. So that's a good story, right?
Right.
And it's a story about a football team a public high school football team in California, which is there's only 2 public schools in California, high schools, that are for the deaf. And I think that's rather unusual because I don't know that I know of a public deaf high school in.
I don't know of any other public school. I mean, I know of several.
Private schools. So
yeah.
I didn't. So California actually does have 2, and it is called the California School for the Deaf-Riverside, and its football team has been like destroying its opponents this season. This is a team that has always been abysmal throughout its history. And for some reason, the team comes together this year, and they're they're the talk of California. They were even introduced at a recent, I guess, the Chargers-Viking NFL game. They were recognized on the field. This team is, composed totally of deaf kids.
Boy, imagine how hard that is.
Well, yes.
I mean, the timing, timing is everything, especially in football, and a lot of that is organized around the human voice. So, geez.
And you know what? And here's what it says, that going to their games is odd. They say football. Well, the article says football, and it's true, is a richly audible experience.
Well, for example, the quarterback calls audible.
Yeah, right. The crashing of helmets, the crunch of a tackle, teammates shouting from the sidelines, the roaring approval of the crowd. And they say that at their night games, you can hear the generators humming, and there's no public address system. No play-by-play. No one says who the players are. There's none of that. None of that. And sign language is used throughout. The refs have to be reminded that if they blow their whistle, that ain't going to have a lot of effect. That they've got to wave their hands. But it's. The coach of this team is saying he thinks that their deafness is potentially gives them an edge. Well,
they have to be totally concentrating and involved in everything, looking and hyper aware.
Right. The coaches say that deaf players have a heightened visual sense that makes them much more alert to movement, and they have a much more acute sense of where their opponents are positioned, and on and on. I mean, and that they communicate really well amongst themselves. So I don't know, but their last game, they beat the other team, which was a hearing team, by the horrific score of it's something like 84-12. And they were.
That's usually considered poor sportsmanship.
Well, no, but you know what? That's what you would think, and it's the playoffs. But they beat this other team 84-12, and in the second half, the entire second half, they put in their second string. So they were not trying to run it up.
No, it must be twofold. Not only are they hyper alert, but it has to be equally, it has to play with the other team's heads. Because it's weird. And so it's breaking their concentration. Yeah.
And just so you know, this is not a big school. This is a small school. And they play in a league in which against other small schools. The entire high school has only 168 students, so that they can have, out of that small a population, they can field this level of a team it really is a fairy tale kind of thing. And it's an 8-player league when the schools are this small. So a lot of rural areas schools as well. They play 8 players at a time, but they're just going to town. And you look at the kids and they're just joyous. I mean, they're just, can you imagine? You're a deaf kid. You're used to being, marginalized and this and that. You're not used to being big bad guy hero, I don't think, generally. So there they are.
No, it's wonderful.
It's a story in the New York Times if you want to read it. Headlined, "Underdog No More. A deaf football team takes California by storm." So that was a good story.
That was a good story. The good story I got caught reading was more sadness about this family split by vaccinated versus anti-vaccinated, and and it's just
Milton. Oh no.
No, what?
I'm sorry. Milton writes, "Can we assume by the general joviality that your brother found his dog?"
No.
No. And I'm frankly stunned that my brother is holding up like he is and seemingly functioning. And
I was afraid to even call him. I called his wife. I know.
I'm just no, it's horrific. So the dog's been missing now for 48 hours. It doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good. Although, every time I say it doesn't look good, I remember that our dog, Frisky, returned home 6 months later.
Yeah, but this, but those are, there's always that possibility. But here's the scary part. The dog was trailing, it still had its leash.
Yeah, we're worried that, and he was on a collar that if he chokes him. I choked her.
Oh God! I mean,
why did you read that, Lynn?
Well, because it's in the back of my head all the time.
I know, but I've been walking around with a pit in my stomach.
I know, me too. And Bill did not sleep at all last night.
Well, let's put this in perspective. Bill never sleeps at all at night.
I know, that's true. But, and I have to say, I've been feeling, I have my dog here. And Bill loves my dog. And I've been stunned at how he's able to enjoy, he's still, cuddling with Blue and playing with him and laughing with him. And I feel like the sight of Blue would just rip my guts out if I were ill.
Well, he grieves differently.
It's so, Milton. No, it's
no. We
have no good
this
news.
This is us pushing on in the face of adversity.
Yeah, what are we? Okay, here's another story I had. This one also out of California, avoiding Rittenhouse and other stories. Oh, and all those black ministers daring to show up at the Arbery trial. My God. Yeah, I don't want to talk about any of it. Well, not true. We're going to talk about a little bit of the Rittenhouse stuff.
Well,
Did you know his
just
mother
went to the jury? Yeah.
I just saw that his mother drove him.
You didn't know that? His mom had a gun too. They drove in there together, and now she's appearing on television like this concerned woman. And Kylie's so sorry he ever went there. He didn't go there. You took him there, lady. And you were doing the same thing. And you should be on trial too.
God damn.
Oh, it's just they clean them up and redo their story, and it's just appalling to me. At least the prosecutor finally said, You don't. It's not self-defense if you get in your car and you with your rifle and you go looking for someone to defend yourself against.
Well, in any other country, but this is America.
I mean, okay, exactly. Where does the action start? You know, you got to think about where the action start. Where does the intent begin? Well, it began in his house with his mommy. They came up with this plan to grab their big rifles and to go into town and, quote, protect, unquote, the town. Well, who asked them? Who deputized him? You know, I mean, this is appalling. The fact that there's even any discussion.
No,
yeah, you can tell me who did. Our ex-president.
No, this is. We've been watching this happen in states for a long time now. I remember, was it after Trayvon Martin or right before, where Florida passed some kind of, stand your ground.
Oh, all the stand your ground and castle
stuff.
No,
you know what that is? That's shoot a black person for free law.
That's
I
right.
remember saying that's what it was.
Well, and that's how it's turned out to be.
There was some kind of a duty to retreat. That's gone.
Or you couldn't use more force than was used against you. So, for example, a skateboard versus a rifle is not a fair fight.
Yeah. So the problem is that laws in this gun-drenched culture of ours have gotten so out of hand, and so many Americans are now regularly armed that lines have been blurred. According here, I'm just going to read something from the guy writing in the Texas Law Review. The U.S. now has this potent mix of stand your ground laws and citizens arrest statutes, all of which have given people license to say they're defending themselves. But increasingly, it appears, as in both these trials that are going on, the Arbery trial and this, that these people who say they're defending themselves are actually hunting people.
That's what they're doing. They're hunting. And it sure looks like hunting. I don't know why anybody else doesn't think it's hunting.
And the question for this poor jury is when is somebody understandably standing their own ground, and when would a reasonable person retreat? When are you entitled to take action as a citizen in the name of the state? Is your having a gun an act of aggression, or is it an act of self-protection? I mean, I think when somebody like him is carrying the kind of weaponry he was, he looks immediately like an aggressor to me. And yet he's saying he was well, you know what? One of our own, Kurt, did a little chart, and I'll just read it to you, but it's a circular chart. And it starts with, I got a gun to defend myself. And then that leads to, but I live in constant fear someone will take it and use it against me. So no matter who or when I kill, it is always self-defense. So you get a gun to defend yourself, but you're in a constant state of fear that somebody is going to...
Which gives you permission to shoot your housekeeper if you don't know who it is. Yeah. Right.
Right. So and then there's these, okay, wait. Here's a few other little facts I just want to throw in here. Most statutes say that someone cannot claim self-defense. And here's what you were saying, Susan. If that person was the initial aggressor. You're saying Rittenhouse, by coming with the gun that he actually was the initial aggressor, so how can he claim self-defense?
Right. It makes absolutely no sense. He didn't need to be in the place. He wasn't part of what was going on there. He took a rifle. He had his mommy drive him there for the sole purpose of being involved in trouble. So there's no self-defense standard there. The way you self-defend in that situation is you don't go.
Yeah, right. So so now we have, castle doctrine laws. Those are the laws that are often called make my day laws, which is, again, shoot a black guy for free law. But there's also something called the duty to retreat. And it is, but the problem is stand your ground laws have made mincemeat out of what used to be.
Well, there isn't a duty to retreat if you get to stand your ground. You don't retreat, you stand your ground.
Well,
because now we treat human beings like they're coyotes and wolves. And if you lock eyes with them, then you mustn't ever retreat because you ceded your ground, so you better kill them.
That is right.
I mean, we are down to legal policy rooted in animal behavior. Ain't that great?
Well, because it's a testosterone crazed, gun loving craze. There's not another country in the world that is like us in this regard. And again, we're exceptional. Anyone over in any other country watching these cases must just be
happy that they don't live in the United States.
Here.
This is the first time in decades that foreign students don't want to come here. Why would they want to come here?
And I remember it was so funny. It might have been 7-8 years ago that I was talking to somebody who was from Israel, who was a visiting professor or something in Pittsburgh. And he said that his family was very fearful of him coming to the United States. I said, do you know how funny that is? How so many Americans think of Israel and think of a frightening, violent place.
Right.
And in Israel, they think I'd be terrified to come to the United States. And having been in both places, I actually do think the Israelis are correct in their assumptions. I do. It says here, too, things are getting worse by the minute. A new law in Utah gives defendants in cases like this the right to request a special hearing in which prosecutors must prove that the defendant was not acting in self-defense. So the law has been turned around where you have to actually...
The defendant has to prove that he didn't need to die. That it was his fault that he's dead. Or that it's not his fault that he was dead.
Yeah.
Well, that's essentially what the judge was ruling in Rittenhouse thing when he said that you couldn't call him a victim because that's a legal conclusion. And honestly, that's correct.
Yeah, but you could call the people he killed arsonists.
No, that part is not correct.
Well, he had said if the defense can prove that. But I've never seen anybody say the defense did, so I don't know that I don't know. God help us. He's gonna walk, or at the very worst, he's gonna be convicted of the least,
a lesser included. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's so hard for me to figure out what they're going to do because I can't see that there's anything other than one conclusion, which is, of course, why I would not be on the jury.
That's correct.
You have to accept the fact that that jury is composed of either 12 liars or people that had not formed an opinion about his guilt or innocence prior to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean? How is that even possible?
Well, the case is a little, it's not like, there was the lunging of the first guy at the first guy was almost,
Well, the first guy was mentally ill.
I know, but okay. But the second guy, as you say, a skateboard is not equivalent to whatever this AK-47 or whatever he had. And then the other, I don't know. And then the other paramedic turns out to have been armed too. It's what I feel like this is like a bunch of misfits on all
sides. A bunch of idiots that were all looking for trouble. Absolutely.
So.
But that does muddy the waters. But it's still the issues at law are crystal clear.
So do you think though, if all these guys are white, we're talking about white guys here, even though it stemmed from the police shooting of a black man, but these are all whites, and I don't know, the dynamic would be much, much different if the dead were black.
We'll see what happens.
No?
I mean, maybe we've got. We'll see what happens.
Well, what the jury pool would be.
In Milwaukee, I think he's walking. Kenosha. He's walking.
Yeah. But the judge, he's a perfect representation. Oh, God. All right. This is what I didn't want to talk about. Let's talk about something more interesting. The scorpions of Aswan. Know about that?
Oh, that are killing people. Oh.
Wow, that's like, a biblical plague. It's first
he brought the floods, then he brought
yeah. So this is one of the world's driest cities, Aswan, Egypt. It never rains there. It never rains. So will you explain to me? I'm looking at this. It says it.
So why do they get the dam?
No. Why would? It is situated along the Nile River. That's obviously where they get their water. Because if you have a place that never rains, and the city is a city of 1.5 million people, I'm thinking, why would 1.5 million people live where it never rains? But it's because the river flows there, right?
Right.
But they get 1/10 of an inch of rain a year.
If you want a sunny climb, there you have it.
Jesus. But for some reason, Friday and Saturday, this unbelievable, I'm sitting here going, I can't believe you just said that. For some reason, because there's been strange meteorological events, an intense thunderstorm just went berserk on this city. Flooding, power outages, 3 people drowned, dead, everything is. That wasn't the most astonishing thing, because hordes of highly venomous scorpions who were, let's just say, pissed off. They were let loose. They thought, what the hell? And they're running around and they're stinging. There were over 500 people hospitalized from one of the most deadly stings in the world. I don't know. I don't know why all that. Why did the scorpions go nuts like that? They tend to burrow. Well, they burrow when in dry, and the water comes along, and they're drowning. They got to get out of there. So they're all pushed out of their burrows, and they are angry and frightened, and they're going to attack. Yeah. So that's what happened. And not only were the scorpions dislodged from their little crevices and places they were living, but snakes. I mean, it is a real, it's like a horror film.
Well, and then so we got the horror film there. My favorite in the stories that don't make us feel unhappy talking about them is this awful divorce in New York, the Macklowe collection. This billionaire who divorces his wife of 50 years, who sat on the board of the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art, and together over their marriage, they had amassed one of the most incredible art collections around. But it was mostly her. And mostly her passion. Well, they couldn't agree after, let's wonder who decided to get divorced after 50 years. And during this acrimonious divorce, they can't agree on the art collection and who gets what, so they both lose. And the judge orders that it be sold.
Right, so it was auctioned off.
So it was auctioned off, and I'm just sort of fascinated by, how awful are people? That that clearly one of them's punishing the other, but I couldn't get it from that article. And then I kept reading. He's the same guy that gets divorced the second that the divorce gets married, the second that the divorce is final, to a younger blonde version, and puts their portraits, like 10-story high portraits of his new wife and him up on one of,
like in. What? Like in where? On Times Square or something?
Yeah. But I'm thinking, sir, if I were your second wife, I would say to myself, honey, you're way too involved with that first wife. All that anger. I think that the psychology behind the lengths this man is going to get back at the wife that he clearly left to marry someone else. Is it his guilt? Does he still love her? I can't figure this part out.
Susan.
You don't care.
I don't care at all.
You don't ever wonder what motivates people and what makes them behave this publicly badly?
They're jerks.
They're billionaire jerks. Of course. They got so much that, what they got? They got a terrible capital gains problem. That's what they got.
Oh, well, they're just jerks. The world is suffused with jerks. And often they're people that have a lot of money. I don't know. I wouldn't waste my time thinking about them for a second. But,
a lot of really incredible art is going to disappear. That's the other thing. Because when you have collections like this that are held this way, and I know no one really cares about this crap because it's ridiculous, they publicly display it. When the collections get broken up, they disappear into people's houses and you never get to see that art again, which is sort of sad.
Well, I have to tell you again, I don't care.
You could care less. You couldn't care less. That's the correct way to say that.
That's right? You could not care less, right? The thing is, I think what, your fascination with this marriage and the animus and all that strikes me as what I call that's one of the subsets of girl talk, right? Guys wouldn't have that conversation, right?
How sexist of you. I don't think that's true at all. Although I was thinking about, this is funny, because I was having a similar thought this morning when, for no good reason, I was trying to figure out how soap operas came to be called soap operas, and it was because only women were watching them while they were ironing and doing the laundry. I got that part. But what they totally missed was a whole reference. The advertisers were soap. What they missed was that a huge part of their viewing audience was men.
I don't get that.
So when you say that this is girl talk, that's sexist nonsense. Well, in fact, the biggest gossipers I know are men.
Okay. I just think, here's why I find Okay, I should shut up because it does sound sexist. But
Yeah,
often
it's like
women
blaming Shailene Woodley for Aaron Rodgers. It's sexist. It is.
not blame. Yeah, who's blaming
Oh,
her?
actually, you would be astonished at who it was. But let's just say a gentleman who caught himself saying what he said and said, "Well, I guess I shouldn't blame Shailene for his decision making." And I said, "No, because if you're going to, all you're saying is he's such a weak-willed little lily-livered, sort of person that anybody can make him do whatever he wants. So that's not on anybody, that's on him."
I guess I just don't care enough about why people do what they do.
I was married to an analyst for 50 years who made his living doing this. So I end up wondering what motivates people. We were just talking about it. Weren't you wondering what motivated Kyle Rittenhouse? Motivation.
I know what motivated him.
He wanted to go hunting that day.
Yeah. It was quite clear. No, I'm not in a good state today. David writes, I keep thinking whether if he were a 12-year-old, I'm sure we're talking Rittenhouse here, a 12-year-old carrying an assault rifle, he would be in a different situation. Why didn't the police arrest him when he showed up? What would have happened if a 17-year-old showed up at a Vietnam War protest similarly armed? We weren't so armed back then. I never remember seeing a gun at a protest.
No. Although looking at this, you can't help but look at this person on television up close and know you're looking at a kid.
At an absolute child. It's really something.
It's really disgusting. What the country has certainly failed that kid. In a normal place, he wouldn't have access to those guns and have rules that allowed him to even go to where he went.
What do you mean, Susan? You're speaking from, no, there are families all over this country that for Christmas get very young kids guns.
I know. And always did, but that was honestly a hunting culture where they went deer hunting.
Yeah.
Or, duck hunting. And then the guns were put away.
I guess. Oh, here's my favorite story of the day. I'm really trying hard to avoid it.
I know you are. Good. Keep going. Good for you.
Okay. Here's my favorite story. In Japan, more diapers are being used by adults than babies.
Because there's no public bathrooms?
No! It's a sure sign of a nation whose population
is aging.
Frighteningly aging and is not being replaced. So when you talk about diaper sales in Japan, the driving force are adults, older people who are wearing diapers.
And astronauts with broken toilets.
Okay. Anyway, but the story, though, was about one town saying so many of these diapers are, and they're bigger, too. They're being, they're being recycled and used to make fuel. So that's the good news, just saying.
I was going, who wants a recycled diaper? Proudly made from recycled diapers. Oh, I'll have one of those. Okay.
Jeez. There was and this is wading into another heavy subject. There was a poll put out by the, Washington Post today. And Washington Post, ABC did a poll. And about American support of abortion. And Americans overwhelmingly support abortion. Overwhelming. So this was a poll taken literally last week, and only 27% said that the Supreme Court should overturn Roe v. Wade. 27%. And yet, look at the reality of what states are doing around this country. So you only have 27% of Americans saying the court should overturn Roe. It is.
No, but then there was the companion article to that. I don't know if you saw that, but the one where they're talking about what happens to women that have a life or death health crisis happening.
No, it's in Texas. Texas is the most, a woman who's pregnant in Texas, right?
No, but this isn't just Texas. This is in all sorts of states where they go into a hospital, not necessarily even a Catholic hospital, and they say their water is broken and the fetus is not viable, and they will not allow an abortion to happen without calling in all of like a team of people to decide whether this meets the criteria of allowing her to abort in a general hospital. And in the end, it's frequently a religious decision made by a non-medical person whether this woman gets her life saved or not in a hospital. And this is and it's horrifying. It's not just Texas. It's a bunch of different states.
No, but what I wanted to say about Texas is that Texas is the most dangerous place in terms of a woman's survival and health.
Yeah.
To be pregnant, which is simply astonishing. But in as much as what you're saying, any of these states,
none of them are safe. It's not safe to be pregnant. And you could and don't tell yourself that you don't want an abortion. I'm talking about, cases where you want the baby and something goes wrong, and you're going to have a bunch of people sitting around debating whether you get to live or not. And that's in several of these states. So I really think it's time that all women, and by the way, the men that love them, need to stand up and say, stop fucking around with our lives, our very lives. In what world does my life cease to matter the second that another potential life exists inside me? Why does the existing life lose all standing immediately? No one has ever been able to explain to me at what point do I lose my right to live?
You're upsetting Blue. He's hearing Blue. My headset.
I don't mean to yell, but that is the question. At what point does my right to live simply evaporate because another's potential life exists inside me?
Well, Susan, I don't know. The fact is that 3/4 of Americans agree with you.
That's right.
And yet we have a Supreme Court that is about to probably either overturn or eviscerate Roe. It's this poll shows 3/4 of Americans, when asked, say abortion, the question of abortion is a question that should be left to women and their doctors. Only 20%, when asked, said it should be regulated by law.
Well, and here's the other thing that we aren't discussing. Women and their doctors. How many doctors do you think are choosing OBGYN as their specialty these days?
Yeah.
There aren't going to be doctors. And the reason why it's not safe to be in Texas is because you'd have to be crazy to be an OBGYN. If anything goes wrong, anything. Your insurance is already skyrocketing. 20 years ago, people were not delivering babies anymore because they couldn't afford the malpractice insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But now we add in a legal layer where you never know what's going to happen. And why would you choose that specialty? You wouldn't.
Well, the way things are going, we're not going to have any OBGYNs. We're not going to have anybody willing to serve on a school board unless they're neo-fascists. There's a lot of public health. Who would want to be in public health now when they are being threatened? It's something. Josh writes, when I was a kid in the early 80s, a lot of men were laid off from their manufacturing jobs. And I can remember at a cookout once, all the grown-up men were discussing General Hospital.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Just want Josh coming in on your side there.
Yeah.
We're all on unemployment and home watching TV. The only time I ever got into soap operas was when I was just getting started in television, and I had to do the late news. So like in the Central Time Zone, so 10 o'clock news. And I didn't go in until like 1 in the afternoon. So I would, the soap opera that was on when I was getting ready to go and when I was essentially eating my breakfast was Ryan's Hope. That's
sure.
The only one. I thought that was actually pretty good.
It was, and it had fine actors in it. But I was endlessly amused after watching All My Children and General Hospital. I watched the ABC soap operas when I was a kid, and then come to move to New York and be in an apartment next door to where One Life to Live filmed, and across the street from All My Children. And I would run into all these people at my deli, and I'd be going, oh, hi. And half of them lived in my building. It was fun. And they were all, then you find out when you live in New York that the majority of them are very fine stage actors who they would earn their keep by their day job on the soap operas.
Well, heck, if you landed a soap, you were in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Because that's a steady paycheck, assuming they don't kill you off or something. If you're, careful.
No, well, they could kill you off. You'd come back the next day. Didn't matter.
I remember once Channel 4 sent me, it was ABC. I was sent for a week to New York. These are the days. I was in television when television was rich,
fun,
and fun. And so we were put up, at the, Why am I blanking on the big hotel, Susan?
What, the Waldorf?
The Plaza.
The Plaza. Oh, Trump Plaza. Before it was Trump Plaza, right?
Yeah, before it was Trump Plaza. We were put up at the Plaza. And the station had the penthouse. And for a week, I sat up there in the penthouse at the Plaza. And every actor from all of these ABC soaps came through, and I interviewed them. And I remember interviewing, what's her name? The grande dame of
Susan Lucci?
Oh, yes, definitely Susan Lucci. But Agnes
Nixon, whatever her name was, the one Nixon. That wrote them all, yeah.
That wrote them all. So, and for somebody who really didn't watch the soaps, I was not the right person to be there. But they had set up there was a billiards room. I remember, and I don't play billiards, but I remember sort of playing with some of these guys, and it was pretty much lost on me. Susan Lucci I knew. Most of the others I did not. And the one I remember most was Agnes Nixon. She was very interesting. But Yeah. And you know what I did every night? I went down to my room in the hotel, and I ordered room service every night.
And pretended like you were, oh God, why am I blanking out on her name? That lived at the plaza.
Eloise. And this explains who I was and or am or whatever. God, am I out of it today? Every night I ordered the same thing. Yeah. It was the most expensive thing it was a big fat.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
That would be rolled in on a, white tablecloth and all in the flowers and stuff. And to think that is what WTAE television paid for, or not. No, they didn't. That was ABC. The network was the one obviously footing the bill.
Right, because you were doing their advertising for them.
Except I wasn't. So what I ended up doing, because I wasn't a soap fan, is I interspersed the interviews I did with the characters they were playing and sort of made fun of a lot of stuff. I was just making fun. I had fun making fun of the soaps. And I know that when I got back, the person in charge at TAE said you were not the right person to send.
Yeah, well,
I said, I know, but I had fun and I came home with enough cholesterol overload and enough red meat in my body for the next 10 years.
Yeah, well, one other Plaza Hotel fact, that's where Eric and I were at a formal something, must have been with some hospital thing, and that's where I told him that I was pregnant with Arlie.
Oh, at the plaza.
At the plaza.
And it was right outside the plaza that the pigeon pooped on Mom.
Right. On her head.
On her head in 1962. Yeah.
We were all laughing.
Lots of memories there. Oh my God, I thought I would die.
And she went into the public bathroom at the plaza to wash her hair.
Roger writes, I'm in you're going to be, again, buttressed here, Suze. I'm in the construction industry, Roger writes. The men I work with are the biggest gossipers in the world, both blue collar and management.
Got it. I swear, I spent a lot of time with men, and they're huge gossipers.
Yeah. And then he had a lot of things on his mind because he says, were Rittenhouse's parents called in to youth services for putting a minor in danger? They should have been.
Yeah,
she should have been. And he says, after these trials, get ready for more protests, more hunting. And he says, we're doomed. I've already apologized to my daughter, her wife, and many of my nieces and nephews. Aw. Well,
so glad that our efforts of cheering people up have worked so well, dear sister.
Oh, dear God in heaven. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was in the mood I'm in today, and I am blaming the missing dog. I'm just I can't bear it. I really can't bear it. And especially because I was so excited about coming here and knowing that the dog was supposed to come with my brother, and because Blue, and
now instead I won't have to board Ernie, and you'll get Ernie.
It's not the same thing.
No, I know it's not.
He doesn't play because Blue and Addie play.
Well, maybe he will outside in the backyard. You don't know.
No. Jeez, it's unbearable. Really, I'm sorry. And I don't even know how Bill's functioning. I really don't even know. Seems to be, functioning. I would just be I don't know. Yeah, as you say, people, but because he knows it's his fault.
I know. Well,
he came down to breakfast this morning and said, I killed her. I killed her because I couldn't say no.
That's right.
She wanted to go running with the other dogs, and I couldn't say.
Well, the mistake is he didn't have to say no. What he did have to do is train her to come when called. But if your dog doesn't come, then when told to, then you can't let your dog run. And you never let your dog run with the leash attached, period.
Oh, God.
Period.
He said he did that in case the cops saw the dog and he could say, well, she was.
Yeah. Well, again,
it doesn't matter. I mean, I know, God. So he's just guilt.
Yeah, I know he is.
And and nobody's helping him with that because we all agree.
And that's how our family is, folks. We'd like to tell you it's all okay, but in fact, you're right. It's all your fault.
He knows it is. What are we supposed to do? Say, oh no. Well, I actually did say. I said, we make choices, and I've made choices that could have gone wrong, in regard to my dog and this and that. I said, you just really whatever, but it doesn't help. Whatever.
No,
I'm sorry.
It doesn't help.
I'm just I'll try to get my head in a better place for tomorrow. Okay.
Well, I don't care because you're on your own tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. He's true. He's true.
Okay, well, but we did it. All right. Well, I'm still fingers crossing that somebody is going to return.
Yeah, it could happen. Who the hell knows? I don't know. Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers, people, just in case it works. Okay.
It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
And and I'll try to whip myself into a semblance of better shape for tomorrow's program. Okay.
Okay.
Sue, see you soon, I guess.
Yeah, Friday.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, great.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.